I'm going to talk a little bit today about what these kind of scams look like, imposter scams look like, from the viewpoint of businesses themselves. We've talked a lot about imposters. That's kind of a theme that's running through today. And the imposter scams that we're keeping an eye on are those in which a scammer pretends to be another company in order to order products or services, well, products from a victim company. So in one local case, we had an appliance store that was contacted by someone who claimed to be working at the University of Texas. And the buyer's email address at first glance looked like it could have been from the University of Texas. But as Phil and Sue have mentioned, if you looked really closely if you went to the university's website and looked at their URL and looked at their email addresses, it was off. There were a few extra words, little extra dots in there that made it go somewhere else entirely. So the scammer at first just places this small order, right? In the story that James Brown from the University of Texas gave the store was that this Texas University was creating some sort of outpost in New Jersey, and they needed appliances shipped to this campus that they were building, in conjunction with someone else in the Northeast. So right now we've got Texas buyer, Ohio victim company, and these goods are going to be off to the East Coast. So it's a little crazy if you start thinking about it and putting the pieces together, but the store is really looking at this sizable order. So the scammer just places this order, $3,000, few appliances, and wants them shipped to New Jersey. They take out this store line of credit that requires them to pay in full in 30 days, right? So as soon as the first order ships, right, just 4 appliances, ships out, the buyer starts placing these additional orders. Every 2 weeks, they're asking for more appliances. They're ordering a few more. All of these orders being arranged by emails. Within a month, the store has shipped 80 appliances worth almost $28,000 to New Jersey. And then the payment comes due, the original payment, and there's no payment. They start trying to contact the buyer. The email address no longer works. The store files a police report, and the police are able to track it to a shipping yard in New Jersey. All of these shipments, they went to a place where a lot of big rigs go. The cargo got dropped off, and from there, just disappeared. In another case, also in Northeast Ohio, there was a buyer that just created a fictional company, just completely created an entity. And they managed to steal about $23,000 in tech equipment using stolen credit cards. They kept using like personal credit cards to buy pieces of the order. And as it turns out, all of these credit cards were stolen from people who, of course, then later disputed the charges. And same thing, they managed to, the goods disappeared. And in this particular case, they also managed to get the store owner to wire some funds ahead to help pay for shipping, and that money was never recovered either. So the last kind of imposter scam, and it's actually a lot more common, is utility scams. And we have seen a lot of utility shutoff scams impact businesses. And these usually, businesses may lose $3,000, $5,000. A scammer will call and say, we never got your payment for your last utility bill. You're behind. We're going to shut off your power immediately. And these calls usually go out before holiday weekends or before a long weekend. And stores that really require, that depend on weekend business, restaurants and retail stores, manufacturing companies that do orders over the weekend, they panic that their power is going to be cut off. And then they just go ahead and make the payment that the scammer is telling them to make. And nearly always, they want money wires or they want Bitcoin. A lot of times they're requesting Bitcoin payments. And guess what? No utility accepts Bitcoin payments. ever, never, ever. So, so just to kind of like draw a string through all of these things, when you get something into your office and it's atypical for you, it's not something that is usual. There's something weird or different about the buyer, the size of the order. It's an unusual payment method. Stop and pay attention, because that is a red flag. Okay, any request for unusual payment methods, as Phil said, money wire, Bitcoin, gift cards or reloadable cards, those aren't real currency. And you actually know this already from your own business, but sometimes when we're in a panic, where we're really excited about something, some other part of our brain takes over and we're not thinking with the logical side. So just remember, those particular forms of payment, those should be red flags right away. Any request that you forward payments from a check to some other entity, that is almost always a marker of a fraudulent check. And even though that money will appear in your bank account briefly, because banks now have to make that money from deposits available to you very quickly, very soon after, it's going to be flagged as a fraudulent check, and the funds will come back out of your account. So even if you see funds, doesn't mean that check is good. Forwarding, bad news, right? Large orders that originate in one state and then they're going to be shipped somewhere else, that's weird. And also, you know, smaller businesses can't compete on that kind of scale, right? You can't compete on price. You compete on customer service. You compete on, you know, great follow-ups for things. It's unlikely that a huge entity is going to be contacting you for large volume stuff that's going to be shipped far away, because they're going to incur way more shipping costs to send it there than they would if they bought it locally to where they're building. Multiple credit cards used to cover a large corporate order with different names on them, though, that should be a red flag. And this serial or snowball ordering before any payments get made. One order, then another, and this order is just snowballing into some giant thing. And URLs that are new or hidden. And as Sue mentioned, in some of these BEC scams, if you take off anything behind the little @ sign in an email and you pop that in as a URL, it should take you someplace, and you should be able to look at what that entity is. You also can pop it into a website called whois.com, and you can see how long that website has been in business. And sometimes it just was a few months ago it was created just specifically to scam people, and then it will shut down. And other times they're behind hidden services. And look up your own website on Whois, and you'll see how a real one is. And then if you look up a fake one, you'll see everything is hidden, so you can't really see who owns that site. That's just another red flag for you. So that's just what I wanted to share today. Consumer Affairs is here for you. The Better Business Bureau does a great job warning businesses about scams, and the FTC has an entire scams page dedicated to small businesses on their site, ftc.gov. And you'll get all these resources after.